Welcome to episode 10. Let's check out what we'll hear about today.
To say like, oh well, this is a thing. Interactive syllabus is a thing. So you should do it, right? And it's like it's good.
It's a new collaboration between Microsoft and Google. It's going to be a product that really works well sometimes.
Again, I think this is kind of the episode of caveats, where it's like, if you aren't in a place where you need something like this, my only caveat to what we're saying here is don't do it just because it's cool.
Welcome back to another episode of High Tech, the higher education, educational technology podcast, hosted by William Illingworth. I think that's me.
Yep.
And Joshua Swartz, was it?
Swazi? No? Yeah, maybe?
Swazi.
Yeah, that's
like shawarma?
Yeah, it's like shawarma.
Let's go get some shawarma.
So, fun fact, I don't know if I've ever had shawarma.
We should change that.
I feel like I don't know what that is.
There's a kebab spot on Queen Street.
Oh, okay.
They might have shawarma.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
We're back. This is an episode. Who knows which one it'll be? We never know.
Yeah.
It's like a lottery effect.
It's a surprise.
We kind of just record an episode and spin the wheel, see where it lands in the lineup. We are, as always, trying something new with technology. So we did do 2 episodes tonight, and one episode's going to sound one way, and the other episode's going to sound a complete different way.
We don't follow our own guidelines.
No, right. We tell you all to test things before doing stuff, and then we don't do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's the glory of having your own podcast. You get to do it how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Now, tonight, we are going to talk about, or whenever you're listening, a couple of things in kind of like the content management space, but specifically starting out a conversation on the interactive syllabus. Now, Josh was telling me he's done some research on this subject, trying to figure out a couple different things about what an interactive syllabus even is. I don't know. But one of the things that's really important about this idea is like, right, what's a syllabus, right? So we just need to start with the ground rules of the fact that a syllabus is a central document that you create to set the expectation for you and your students on what will be learned in the scope of your course. That might include policies that are required by your university or by your institution, but most of it is going to be something you create following a general template, providing information. Okay, redundant, right? Will, I've written 20 syllabus in the last year. You don't need to tell me what these are. No problem. Just want to set the ground rules, right? Because an interactive syllabus is going to start from that and start to beg the question, like, what should a student do with a syllabus? What should be the interaction with a syllabus? Should they just read it and throw it out? Should it go in the book bag like it always did? Should it get stashed away in a file? Like, what do you think the purpose of the syllabus is? Have you kind of put some thoughts to that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my space, I'm not putting as much deep thought into this as some of my other coworkers are, but I think the point of this with the syllabus is, like, however I hear people define it as a contract. I don't necessarily like that terminology as much. I think it is I like your wording there, like a guiding document. I think it is a reference point for the student. It's to help break down what experience they're going to have and why. It does a lot of things, like, right? It breaks down the structure of your course, down to the activities, how the grading's going to work, It also, I know when we were working on setting up like software for syllabi at our institution, like there was discussions about sections where, it's not just about putting a list of SLOs for a student and your activities, like describe what the course is going to be like, like sell the course essentially. Like it's, yes, they might already be taking the course most likely by the time they get the syllabus, but it's your chance to introduce them to the experience and the learning they're gonna embark on over that point. And also, I think it's still a reference point for questions and kind of leading them towards understandings of things, right? I feel like
logistics, how to get in contact, what the grading should be like, stuff like that. And I wanted to double back just a second, like, kind of, I know the culture around syllabi at your institution at least pretty well from when I worked there. My institution does have some requirements in different units that syllabi have to be available, like you said, as an advertising thing. One of our units, all syllabi for all courses have to be up to date. There has to be a website link that someone can go to and see the skin and bones of the course. It just doesn't have to be like the meat of the assignments, but it has to have a course schedule. It has to have the grading system. It has to have the basic assignments listed, right? And so that syllabus is available at all times on a website. And that's like, there's going to be every different flavor of that at each institution.
I feel like everybody's got their different experience. Like, we're in an environment where I think there's discussion about where that happens. But right now, practically, if somebody's reaching out for syllabi, they can probably get a copy early, but there's no requirement to have it, within a certain period other than when the period of, like, for us, when our course is open to students. Now, I see the value in it being earlier. I see the value in it being a tool like that, because you are showing there's something about, like, showing a student earlier what a course is going to be like before they get into it or before what they jump into, so that they have an expectation. Their expectations are right. They understand it. And I've seen other institutions or learning, companies or things like that who have similar dynamics where they have syllabi out early that break down the course. And this is where I think this interactive element comes in as a conversation. And I'll give background, like, for me, I'm not going to pretend like I'm like some expert on this. We're both exploring this idea. It was simply like a so you can get behind the fourth wall of the high tech podcast of how these ideas come about. It's literally Will and I like, oh, that seems like a fun thing to talk about. Why don't we do that? That seems cool.
Or something happens in our job each day.
And we're
like, man, we should talk about that.
Yeah, I'd like to talk more about that. And so, like, I think interactive syllabus was suggested because I've had some interaction with it. I think we both have. And we just wanted to kind of, like, dig in and talk about it a little bit and have, like, an avenue to do that. And so, like, for me, where this comes in is this idea of, like, okay, if this is supposed to be a document that breaks down the course well, is usable for the student, is something that they can get this information off of, they can get expectations set. There's some important stuff like policies and things that need to be in these syllabi that we get all rosy about the way we talk about syllabus and philosophical, but the reality is there's also stuff like disability information and like plagiarism, like in academic integrity policies, like stuff like that is going to be in the
winter
syllabi.
Weather policies
like
for
those,
us.
And those aren't the flowery things we like to talk about, but the reality, students need to know them. They're in the syllabus. And so if the point is that they're supposed to see this information and interact with it, I think where an interactive syllabus comes in is to say, okay, is there a better way to do this other than just handing them this document with a bunch of bullets on it? Especially in our digital world today, is there a way to do this that gets a little bit more interactive and integrates and kind of gets into the experience that they're getting into?
And that's where my interaction with this topic came up most recently. So I've been talking with some of your current colleagues, some of my former colleagues about this idea, for 5 or 6 years. But most recently, last year, I came across a faculty member who had his traditional Microsoft Word syllabus. He had to, that's fine. But then he put forward a slide-based, slide-by-slide design of his syllabus to the students with clickable links and an embedded YouTube video explaining a section and all this other stuff. And I was just like, wow, if you put them side by side, word for word, all the same content, all the required policies, everything he had to do. But the delivery, the visual just experience of the slide-by-slide design, I mean, it's just a PowerPoint, but with images, with links, with pictures of him, with him describing things like that, to me was really, I think, interesting. Now, like you said before, that could just be some rosy, pizzazz kind of stuff. Does it have value? I don't know. I think that there's a place for it to have value, and you might have those students do things as a result of reading your syllabus now. When they watch your video introducing the course description, they should respond to the first discussion post, telling you if they think that the course is going to be interesting for what you've described. I don't know, but there could be more to it than just read the syllabus and throw it away.
Yeah. Well, and I think because I've been trying to think about this too, because I'll be transparent with, as I've dug into this idea and stuff like that. There's part of me, because of my love of technology and visuals and stuff like that loves this idea. And then there's the other part of me that's like, okay, the reality is this. You do an interactive syllabus, but you're going to end up being like Will's faculty member, okay? Let's be blunt, okay? None of us are convincing the institution to be like, let's do a crazy interactive syllabus as our template.
Everyone
okay,
should
now,
do it.
am I looking around? There's some institutions that have those options for faculty, but most of them, I think, are going to be PDF syllabus. you do something interactive on your own to create the syllabus. But here's where I think there's value to it. I think maybe I'm trying to find that point because I like this idea enough that I want to like ground it somewhere. I think where this comes out of, because here's what I've found in the very brief research I did outside of my normal job interactions with it, is this. This term interactive syllabus means a billion things to a billion different people. Okay, if you go Google interactive syllabus right now, here's what I'm going to tell you you're going to find. You're going to find anything from somebody who set up a Google Doc that basically looks like their syllabus, but it just has links. You're going to find people who, there's an institution that defines the interactive syllabus as like a video recording of walking through the syllabus. Now, they encourage stuff like what Will's talking about, like slides that visually show what the syllabus is. To people who have literally created like HTML pages for their syllabus,
like a website,
like websites. It's the gambit, okay, of how they define it. And if I really had to get it this way, it's like the core of the concept of interactive syllabus is really just using the available multimedia and visual tools that we have to try to communicate what's in the syllabus in a way that is more understandable and longer lasting for the student. Like to use those tools to communicate what's in the syllabus clearly, because obviously what ends up happening in the syllabus context for a lot of faculty, I think, is this. It's like, how do I get my students to actually read what's there? Okay. And now we find other solutions, like we maybe have an activity in our assignment, or we go the dreaded sit down and read the syllabus in class together, so we make sure they know the information. But that doesn't solve the problem either of no questions, you know. I think the point is that we keep seeing, how do I get my students to clearly know what's there? Not just so that I get less questions, but so that they have the right expectations and understand what the course is going to be like. And so I think that that's important to talk through. And so for me, I think that's the core of the interactive syllabus idea, is leveraging those tools to do that. I don't know. Would you agree? Like, from your thinking about this, kind of what you've dealt with?
Absolutely, because in my opinion, what you're just pointing at, Josh, looks back at the value and the motivation, right? Like, if we want the students to read the syllabus, we don't have to make it some big hypermedia interactive experience to get them to do that. We could, like that old Clear Eye commercial guy with Ben Stein or whatever, just rotely read, and the syllabus will mean to you that you should read the course objectives for the day. Like, we don't have to do that to get it done, yeah. But we could say that there has to be a discussion related to it. You could put it in a syllabus quiz. You could give them 5 points for reading it and put like an Easter egg in it. You have to find the word in paragraph 16, sentence 2 that means blah, blah, blah. There are ways to get the students to actually open the syllabus and read it for more than 2 seconds that don't require recording a 5-minute video and creating hyperlinks and using Google Docs. Like, I don't think I like your point there. I don't think that the interactive syllabus is the goal. I think it's a cool tool. I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, does the faculty member find that the students don't read the syllabus and therefore have impediments in their learning experience as they go through the course? Is there something that, like, they don't read the syllabus, so they don't read that they have to download Tableau, the data crunching software, before they start the course, and they get into week 3 and they don't have Tableau yet and they don't understand the assignments and they're freaking out? If they had done that day 1, downloaded the software, done the experience, you know what I mean? Like, that would have really been a big help. So now the question is, if that's the issue, is that really a failure of the syllabus? Is it a failure of the student? I don't know where the failure is, but you could have just made an assignment in week 1 saying download Tableau. Like, you didn't have to do a whole interactive syllabus to get them to do Tableau specifically, if that's the learning breakdown, right? I think we always have an opportunity in this moment to say, what's the need? Do some analysis. Like, my students are not prepared for the course. We get into week 4. They don't have their textbook. They don't have their software downloaded. They're still not using the correct, discussion forum etiquette that I outlined in the syllabus. Oh, okay. So that's meaning a majority of your students are not reading your syllabus, and you're counting on your syllabus to be the foundation of the first 3 weeks of your course. Now we can work with that. There's something we can do
Yeah.
to address that issue, and it may not be an interactive syllabus. However, that is a good opportunity for an interactive syllabus. If they could go through the whole syllabus experience, and after reading section 1, it told them, click here to go download Tableau, and then you can continue to section 2. Great. You know what I mean? Like, that's a helpful learning step to get them to do that task. That's going to improve the course experience.
Yeah. And I think to the level that you do this is going to depend on your environment and your situation. Because where I'm still torn is, right, I was reading a lot of what people were doing with the interactive syllabus concept, and I was like, okay, this also still kind of sounds like what we do with the LMS. Like, the LMS is also basically a large interactive syllabus. If we think about it this way, it's a deconstructed syllabus. It's an environment. It's taking what the syllabus breaks down and putting it into a digital environment to break down, because that's the type of stuff we encourage for faculty is, right? Like, if you're setting up courses, set up assignments to download Tableau or the thing that your student needs to download, or set up assignments that reference back. But what I really like the concept of an interactive syllabus is there's some stuff, right, that's in the syllabus that can be put in the instructions for an activity that should be put there, but sometimes there's stuff that's, like, I think easily referenced back to the syllabus without having to go through all the details of, like, this discussion's a part of these, 3, grouping of discussions, or please reference back to the attendance policy about this type of stuff. And an interactive syllabus does give you a way to kind of link back and forth between these things in a way that you don't do in a normal just like PDF.
Well, and like a simple interactive syllabus that would alleviate some problems and make it more useful, right? Okay, we're talking Canvas. Top of the page of modules is module 1 or start here module or module 0. And the top of that is syllabus. Okay, that syllabus can have your whole 15-page document in it. But right after syllabus should be another item that just says logistical items. That includes your office hours, your name, your email address, your preferred communication etiquette. Should they address you, dear Dr. So-and-so? Should they just be informal? And then there can be a separate page below that that says required policies, where they can see the academic integrity policy. Something like that even is like at any time they know they could go back and quickly get to the policies and not have to go back to your 15-page document and scroll through 12 pages to get to the policy section. Like, I think that we don't have to make a special Google Doc or a big video to make the interactive. We can just reuse the information in a more functional way, like clicking on sections to get to information. Or you and I were just looking at before the episode, you're showing me kind of a template that you all have worked on in the past for an HTML syllabus in Canvas, right? And at the very top of it is the table of contents. Click on each section, and it'll take you to.
And the point, I think, is just like it's leveraging some of the technology to say, can we create a syllabus that is more usable for the student, that is more easily accessed. And I think that's where, now I'm not going to bash on some of the, like, we've talked about the ideas of like the video, maybe the video is not the solution. I will say this, where I think a video could be helpful and where people talk about this, and where your example of this, right, was presentation is part of the syllabus isn't just breaking down the course, but it's also walking through what the learning experience is going to be like. And there's value, I think, as the instructor to say, okay, what if I break this down in a few slides? Not a video where you're literally just, here's where I push against. Not a video where you're just literally reading the syllabus PDF and you're expecting them to also be reading it. Like, to do some visuals, like walk them through what the experience is going to be. One of the things I've been more convinced of out of this interactive syllabus thing is we could maybe solve a lot of understanding problems if we just at least broke down the grading categories or assignment groups, whatever you want to call them, if we broke them down as a darn pie chart instead of just like random percentages, because there's something about a visual of that, like where it's one thing to say this grouping is worth 50% of your grade. It's another thing to show a visual of a chart,
the pie chart,
and say it's worth 50% of your grade, and you walk them through that. But even just like walk them through what those activities are going to be. I see like short descriptions of, we're going to have like weekly discussions each week. I think there's a lot of power in an instructor, when walking through their video, say, hey, we're gonna walk through some of these discussions per week, and here's why. Like, here's some of why we're going to be doing this, and why I have that statement in there about wanting you to participate this much. There's value to this in your learning. And that is not communicated perfectly in a document or a written space, and that's why I think sometimes the instructor, your goal in walking them through is not just to read everything that's there, it's to give the context to what's there and why it's important. So that's maybe where I've been brought over to the video concept, that like at least like an introductory video doesn't solve all your problems, but I do think it gives some more value to the syllabus document or the interactive syllabus that you're working with. I hope you guys can feel out of this, like, where we don't have developed opinions about this just yet. I feel like we're kind of on the fence about this idea.
That's fair. And like I was going to say here, like, it comes back to your needs. I think that different faculty may or may not need this, and different levels of this, depending on what the issue is that you're experiencing. If you don't have any issues, just keep putting out the doc.
Yeah,
call it a day.
It's fine. If you don't want to go this direction, that's fine. Like, I don't think you need to. I think there's this pressure in ed tech to say, like, oh, well, this is a thing. Interactive syllabus is a thing, so you should do it. Right? And it's like, it's good. And there's ways about it, and I think we're going to talk about a tool usage that is similar to this, although it's not perfectly just about interactive syllabus. It's about something broader. But there's definitely ways to do it. Now, there's other ways if you do want to get into it. I would encourage this. There are people who've done things with them. I will throw this out because I love the tool. We've talked about it. It's our first episode tool. It maybe holds a special place in my heart now because of that. I saw people doing this through Canva. And they almost sold me on it for a second. Only because, like, it was a guy doing, like, a multimedia class. And he was creating, like, screenshots of the media that they were going to go through. So, like, you know, covers of the media. And he added links into it to the activities that they were going to be doing for that, with explanation of why these were the media elements they were going to review and look at. And there's something about that a PDF just doesn't do. And there was something, even just me looking at it, I got excited about the course. And I wasn't even taking it. Okay, so like,
well, and that's so authentic too, right? Like, he's a media course. Use media. Do it. Better. Like, it's good.
And I do have a special place in my heart for some of these interactive syllabi that do stuff like graph breakdowns of the assignment groups or grading categories and stuff like that, like in a visual way. There was another person who did something through, I think it was maybe Canva, that had like instead of just like paragraphs that said like policies, they had like awesome like banner visuals at the bottom that were like policies, like participation, things like that, you know, different colored. And I will tell you this, I immediately picked them up because it was visually designed. Right? And that's the other argument those on the side of the interactive syllabus will say, nobody in digital media or content creation says the way that your normal syllabus is set up is actually going to be visually helpful for people to understand information. So why are we not taking what people say is visually helpful in a design premise and doing it to our syllabus if it's such an important document? So I'm back and forth on it. I think it really just depends on the time that you're willing to put into it, your resources. Like, I would love in my environment to do like an actual HTML like page in Canvas. But we're an office that has resources to do that. We're not just a regular faculty member. I would never encourage my normal faculty member to go learn HTML and set that up. So I think it just depends on your environment is kind of where I'm at with it.
It's clear Josh and I do not have the answers, but we are interested in the conversation as always. Now, who does have the answer is Google. And frankly, if we want to know how to step forwards into this, to maybe create our own interactive syllabi.
Some of our K-12 friends are like, yeah, they do have all the answers. Google's the perfect ed tech.
I think we need some Google in our lives. So the app tonight is actually kind of twofold. It's all right. It's Google is Google. If you need Google, you just want all of it. What I wanted to bring forward is kind of this idea that Google Slides could be used as a content management system. So the app, if you will, if we have to throw one app on the board, it's Google Slides. Of course, you could integrate Google Drive, anything, Google Word, Google Docs, etc. You know, Google Word, the Google
new tool. I don't know if you guys knew about it.
It's a new collaboration between Microsoft and Google. It's going to be a product that really works well sometimes. So the idea here, this comes from that faculty member I mentioned. So not only did he do that slide-by-slide interactive syllabus in Google Slides, he did his entire course in Google Slides. And what I mean by that is all narrative content, lesson pages, instructions, assignment prompts, rubrics, his syllabus, everything he built in Google Slides because if he's teaching 2 or 3 sections, he could embed those into his learning management system and then only edit them in one place. Like, how frustrating is it if you ever have to manage more than one course section and you don't have them merged or whatever is going on, you have to edit each of those course sections separately. His reaction to that was, let's use Google Slides. I'll do all of my content creation in one place and then paste it into everywhere else. Even better, semester to semester, all he has to do is copy his Google folder and make a whole new copy of it, and then he can just relink everything. So he can even leave the old stuff linked to the old course, and he can leave it be as like an archive version. He can make edits moving forwards and not impact the old stuff. Like, it's really easy to use Google Slides this way, because as it works with Google, I can make one document with links to that wherever I want. And this works with Google Docs. It works with Google Slides, Google Sheets, etc. I've said Google so many times here, my phone keeps lighting up because it is an Android product, and it's driving me nuts. So I'll just put that out of the way. It's like, Google, what do you want? Turns my house lights off, unlocks the door, changes my bank account number. Who knows?
I hope not. That'd be terrifying.
But the idea here is like a content management system controlling your learning content. You have I've seen so many faculty members like folder systems and stuff of their courses. Like, I've seen the folks that got, the last 20 years of their teaching in folders, in chronological spring, fall, summer, spring, fall, that kind of stuff. And there's lesson pages in there, prompts, assignments, clippings, scans, etc. Hey, Google, throw it in Google Drive, build those things into slides or build those things into docs, and then just drop them into your content, into your learning management system. Josh might defend Canvas as a good content management system. I wouldn't. But
listen,
I also
think
wouldn't.
Let me jump in here for a second, because I feel like I just got thrown under the bus.
Somebody get the license plate on that one.
Okay, like here's my argument. Okay, I think Canvas is as good of an LMS content management system as the other major content management systems. I feel like I have to play this politically in case somebody who I know listens to this. I think like there are flaws in those bigger tools, absolutely, that make it harder sometimes to manage content. I don't think Canvas is any worse at it than the other bigger parties like Schoology or Blackboard or now I will say this. My concern, because Will knows this, we've talked about this before this idea came in. I am not as sold on this concept, other than like I get some of the premises about it. I do appreciate that. So some things that, like, I had faculty who used to store all of their stuff in their LMS course, and when we moved to a new system, they were surprised when it was like I wasn't gonna like help, like I wasn't gonna like
where'd all my content go, Josh?
Like, it's not, I'm not gonna. So like there's a bonus to this, that you have more control over your own management of it. To Will's point, I do think there's some value in this concept that like you can do some different things with a present like content management in the way that you can't do in Canvas. You can do in Canvas with the right knowledge. A normal faculty member couldn't do. Like the interactiveness of the slides and the visuals, like there's some easier ways to do that in Google Slides that an average faculty member can do, that I think is a bonus, and it's easy to manage outside, like you said, in the folders, make those changes. I think one big issues with it is that it's accessibility nightmare, because there's going to be some issues with those embedded or linked tools, and there are some features in an LMS that you get with generating in their rich like their text box,
sure,
and things like that, video integration, stuff like that. You're using another tool on top of another tool, and sometimes there's complexities, in my opinion, that come up with that. This guy who did it was obviously, he knew his Google Slides well. Right. There's a reason he did it in Google Slides. He knows Google Slides better than Canvas, and chose to go that route, and that's fine. And you showed me some of what he did, and it was really cool. Like, he had some cool stuff in there. that like some sweet pictures of himself with like thumbs up or something, if I remember correctly. So like
in a star, he had cropped himself into a star somehow.
Yeah.
And
So my point here is that it's just this idea. This is not unheard of in our area of teaching, of having a outside content management system. Like something else you're building your content in and putting it into the LMS that you have. And I think Google Slides does provide an easy solution for those who want to pursue that route. Would maybe be my middle ground that I would say. Like Google Slides, I think, has a good solution for that without you having to get into any of the big players of content management, like Articulate Rise or things like that.
Absolutely free for 9 out of 10 users. Like you're going to have space limits eventually, but your Google Slides, if that was all you had in your Google Drive, would not take up your free limitation for years. You could be creating for years. And I want to pivot on one thing, Josh, like, cause I agree with you functionally, institutionally, like there's so many things that your local instructional design unit could do for you that you don't need this kind of homegrown system. If you don't have an instructional design unit in your institution, maybe you want your own self-reliance and you want to dig into this. That's no problem. But I'll say from kind of an adjuncts perspective, there's an adjuncts that I work with that are teaching at 2 and 3 institutions.
Yes.
And I could say it could be a really big benefit to them to be able to like centralize their content and their curriculum. So long as that curriculum is, so long as the course they're teaching across institutions meets the course objectives, I wouldn't have any problem with them using, like a Google Drive folder of content that they put together as like their Psych 101 course that they're the instructor that teaches, and then they use that across a couple institutions. Like that could be a really good tool for folks who are trying to save some time like that.
And I think that's a good point. Like if you're, because I've interacted with those same types of adjuncts who are teaching across different institutions. They may use similar content across those institutions. If you're in an environment like this idea, we're technically promoting this idea with Google Slides, but this idea generally of an outside trying Google Slides, I think if you've never done something like this before, Google Slides would be an area that I would say that we roll with, that could work with. To one point, I would say this. My only encouragement would be, if you are going to go this route, go ahead and do like your example did, Will, from your instructor, who embedded it, I think, and linked it in his LMS. Do not. I have had instructors who have done this, who have been like, guess what? All of your stuff is now over in Google. And you're not going to work in your institutional LMS. Do not do that if your institution has an LMS. And here's why. That's a horrible experience for your student. For them to have to go to a different tool that they're not used to using entirely. Yep. It's a totally different experience when you're embedding it inside. So that would be my one caveat to any adjunct listening to this, who maybe gets that spark of an idea, to be like, okay, awesome. I'll just create folders in Google. I'll just give them my Google Slides. We'll roll that way. Like that's the, I think you still have to do the extra work of putting it in the current LMS that you're using.
Well, and besides the extra work and all that, you just don't want the liability. Don't put student data in your personal Google
you don't want that over
folder.
there. And that's why
just
I think like this is the one area I would say it's not that hard to do a Google slide and put it in somewhere else like your instructor did and embed it. Because that's what he did in this case. Like, just reference. He didn't, from what I saw from what Will showed me, he didn't just link it. He actually embedded it in the page. So the student didn't have to go anywhere else. They just clicked through the slide inside Canvas. And I think that's totally fine. Again, I think this is kind of the episode of caveats where it's like, it's similar to in Interactive Syllabus, where it's like, if you aren't in a place where you need something like this, my only caveat to what we're saying here is, don't do it just because it's cool, or don't jump right into this idea because it sounds really cool. Because if you're not an adjunct who needs content in multiple places, or you're not needing content across multiple sections, just put it in your LMS. Like, it's just do it, okay? And you can store your content somewhere else. That said, I do like this idea. I'm not against this idea, and I think there's some value to it if you have to use it for the right reasons. And if you do need this for a reason, Google Slides is a perfectly okay tool to use it with. I think it is definitely an easy tool for the average faculty member to get into.
Yeah, I totally agree. And thank you. Yeah, like I get a little high in the sky sometimes with ideas, and Josh is really good at keeping sure that we're aware of the institutional stuff and that we're doing safe practices, and I think we balance each other pretty well that way with our ideas. And I'm not saying you aren't high in the sky, like you get to those same
I get into those same places. It comes from our two work environments and the way we do. I am
our
the
responsibilities.
person. I am the person on the other side who has to hear about when an instructor decides to make his students go to Google, and a student complains about it. I'm the one who has to deal with on a regular basis if we have massive issues in a course where like content and instructor embedded's not working, or isn't doing things. So I understand the sustainability issues that sometimes come up with it. With that said, this idea I think has value, and if you go in this direction, I think Google Slides is a tool that could be easily used for that, which is why we're recommending it in this section. So all that to say, there's our caveats of caveats upon caveats. So if I have to say that word again, whatever.
Which word?
I'm not gonna say it. It's fine. I don't have a Google phone either, so it's not gonna go off. I don't know why it would go off on caveats. So I said it. Thank you for joining us again this week in the High Tech Podcast, as we're just carefully, I think, trying to take a look at how do we use the technology that is available to us to have good learning inside our classrooms, whether we're dealing with the classroom face-to-face like some of you are, or you're teaching online or in a hybrid environment. We just want to harness the tech the best way we can. So appreciate you guys joining us this week, and see ya.
See ya.